20 minutes. This is very close. We'll have to go in.
Thousands of British citizens remain trapped in Sudan. The UK government has insisted it's doing all it can to help British nationals stuck in Sudan, after diplomats and their families were rescued yesterday. Minister Andrew Mitchell says there are estimates of around 4,000 Britons in the country, but the number could be higher. Fighting between two opposing forces has seen deadly shooting and shelling in the country's capital, Khartoum, for more than a week. France, Germany, Italy and Spain have been evacuating diplomats and other nationals from Sudan. But UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly has warned that help for Britons will remain severely limited until a ceasefire is reached. He added there were specific threats and violence directed towards diplomats, which led to the decision to evacuate staff from the British embassy in Khartoum. A British businessman living in Sudan has told the BBC the situation is a nightmare for those of us left behind in the country. It's hard to get a full and clear picture of what's going on in Sudan because communications have been disrupted by the fighting. But reports suggest things are relatively calm in the capital Khartoum today, as foreign countries have been rushing to evacuate their nationals. We're not hearing reports of the same level of loud and intense gunfire that took place last week. Internet connections remain largely disrupted across Sudan, with the power struggle well into its second week, the UK-based internet monitoring group NetBlocks reports. According to the latest figures, more than 420 people have been killed and thousands wounded since fighting broke out on April 15th, though the actual figure may be higher. What's at the heart of the Sudan clashes? As we mentioned earlier, the fighting that has erupted in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, and elsewhere in the country is a direct result of a vicious power struggle within the country's military leadership. Gen. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the head of the armed forces and in effect the country's president, and his deputy and leader of the RSF, Rapid Support Forces, Gen. Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, better known as Hemedti, disagree on the future of Sudan and a proposed return to civilian rule. The shooting began on April 15th following days of tension as members of the RSF were redeployed around the country in a move that the army saw as a threat. And although the conflict appears to be around the control of key installations, much of it is happening in urban areas and civilians have become the victims. Sudan, once the largest and one of the most geographically diverse states in Africa, split into two countries in July 2011 after the people of the South voted for independence. The government of Sudan gave its blessing to an independent South Sudan, where the mainly Christian and animist people had for decades been struggling against rule by the Arab Muslim North. However, various outstanding issues, especially the question of shared oil revenues and border demarcation, have continued to create tensions between the two successor states. Sudan has long been beset by conflict. 2 rounds of North-South civil war cost the lives of 1.5 million people, and a continuing conflict in the western region of Darfur has driven 2 million people from their homes and killed more than 200,000. British citizen Amar Osman lives in Edinburgh where he works for the Royal Mail. He was visiting family in Omdurman, 15 miles north of the capital Khartoum, when the crisis started. In a video taken from their back garden, heavy gunfire appears to be very close by. Soon the sound of the fighting gets so close he has to run indoors. So guys, hopefully you have liked this video, and if you liked this video, subscribe our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon for latest updates.